But it's Jesus we cry out loud. Father, just forgive us. Hear us when we say, we'll give you everything. Our lives and souls today.
Father, you know we need it. I've never seen so much pain. We have the faith for now. Your victory we will gain. Father, you know we mean it. There's no more heart of stone. We're ready for your power. Now the sin is gone. Father, 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 we will say yes. Can you hear even me, Lord, Lord? See, I'm coming to you, Lord, just as I am. I'm in need of the blood of the Lamb. Oh, my soul says yes. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Can you hear me, Lord? I know I can't do this by myself. I know.
Do you believe? Somebody sing. Somebody ought to stand up and say, yeah. Lift up your hands and say, yeah, yeah, yeah. Lift up your hands, O ye gates, 'cause the King of glory shall come in. Somebody tell me who is the King of glory, the Lord of God, strong and mighty. Do you know Jesus? So lift up your hands and say, yeah. Oh, yeah. Somebody say, yeah.
What's happening? What up? What it do? That's for sure. But everybody in our city says, what up, doe? What up? What up, doe? What's going on, everybody? Big salute to the replay gang. Salute to everybody coming in and out of the live. Everybody, if you could take whatever finger you could, real smooth, like, real cool, like, tap on the thumbs up button for yours truly and the biggest M I know. And I mean the biggest M I do know. If you're new here, make sure you hit that sub button, comment, share the live in my TikTok voice. It's $3.99. Copyright disclaimer. Under Section 107 of the Copyright Act, 1976, allowance is made for the fair use for the purpose such as criticism, comment, news reporting, teaching, scholarship, and research. Fair use is a use permitted by copyright statutes that might otherwise be infringing. Non-profit, educational, personal use, tips are balanced in favor of fair use, y'all. You heard me say it. You can't say I didn't. It's in the chat. It's in the description. Y'all know the rest. Salute, salute, everybody. I hope everybody's having a great Monday night. Yeah. So we're coming back to talk about the Nolan Wells case. Nolan Wells is his name. May he rest in peace. And I want to say this. I kept saying every day more and more and more and more and more stuff keeps coming out. Alright, hold on. I suppose I see you down there. I see you, I see you, I see you. No copyright infringement was intended on any music that you hear during this demonstration. Miss Jackson, I see you down there. How you been? I know you for real. I know you being smooth and cool and true with it. Salute. Thanks for pulling up on yours truly and the biggest. And I mean the biggest him. We do know. So just like any other lies or, something that's done in the dark, it'll always be brought to the light, y'all. Sometimes it takes a long time. Sometimes it comes quick. But it's definitely happening. The biggest update right now in the Nolan Wells case. The NAACP has now joined the legal effort, and they are a civil rights organization. So it's got to mean something when they are. I'm pretty sure they're nonprofit, and they are gonna step in and help the legal team because that it's got to indicate something ain't right, guys. And their main goal is they want to uncover facts, y'all, which the police should be trying to do, and push for transparency in the investigation. Let me ask y'all something. I don't even know if the police even work this case, but where it's nothing but spin the narrative. That's all they wanted to do is taint the shit out of this, taint the shit out of it, taint the shit out of it, because we'll get away with it. And the good thing about this statement is, it's looking like, because again, shout out to the two ladies now over on TikTok that are doing what the police should be doing. We got two ladies on TikTok that have been breaking it down, studying the videos. Shout out to them and they're just, got criminal minds like me and Big M. Just, like to bring awareness. And shout out to those two ladies on TikTok. So right now, okay, remember, Nolan lost his life allegedly between, he went missing on the 4th, and his body was found on the 6th. So let me say that. He went missing on July 4th, body was found on July 6th. Do y'all know the date is 8/17? No suspects, no arrests. Again, these ladies on TikTok, if it wasn't for them, who knows? And it's got to be bigger than speculation now. It's got to be, guys. Like, there's got to be, like, especially after all this time, there's got to be at least a little bit of something that is not speculation. It can't all be speculation anymore. And another thing, guys. Nolan's phone is becoming a major issue, in my opinion. That's just my opinion. They're saying they won't turn it in. The family's coming out saying that they've been turned it in. It's pretty fucking messy, chaotic, and sloppy. And sloppy brings chaos, which chaos brings destruction. What up, Mindy? Thanks for pulling up on yours truly and the biggest him, and I mean the biggest him. I know you being smooth with it, cool with it, true with it. They are uncovering what's being covered up. Oh, by golly, guys. Yes, they are. And that's why if you look at the title. Now, let me ask y'all something, because they can't say, oh, it was an accident, self-defense, we got scared. Their best bet is going to be privileged versus privileged. Which one of them privileged little boys' family has got the least money? Because then they're going to turn it on the least privileged of the privileged. If you're picking up when I'm laying the fuck down. Will it become privilege versus privilege? I think yes. I think yes. But that's just my opinion. Always, I love y'all work you do. I appreciate that, Mindy. Man, someone's got to do it again. Shout out to them ladies on TikTok. We're about to get into it again. If it wasn't for them ladies on TikTok, man, they were studying them videos. They found Nolan in the water. How come the police couldn't do that? They got to fight that, man. I don't know. This shit's crazy. Shout out to the ladies again on TikTok. Shout out to you ladies. And all the content creators that come out here and try to bring awareness, because there's several cases actually that I don't think if it wasn't for these CCs out here with the awareness, I don't know what might have happened. So with Nolan's phone, I wonder what is going to still be on the phone. Because Nolan's mom was said when, he was with his bros. They call him his brother. I don't know what. I don't think Nolan called him his brothers. But, they did. And he sent her snaps. But she said she wasn't able to open them because she was working. And then they were gone. So she knows the snaps were there. And so now they've gone so far because they erased stuff out of Nolan's phone that they have sent a letter to Snapchat. Oh yeah, they want them fucking pictures. This is crazy work, y'all. When you do good, you'll get shit good. When you do bad, you're gonna get bad. Even if you lie. Well, more or less. If you tell the truth, the consequences might be a little less. You're still going to be punished. But this shit right here, Nolan Wells is his name. May he rest in peace. And then with the phone, I wonder what else is going to be deleted. Is call logs, maybe text messages. I wonder what his GPS coordinates are going to show. But this fucking phone's such a problem. It's crazy work. Again, the date is August 17th. Nolan went missing on July 4th. Body was found on July 6th. Mississippi PD, what are y'all doing? Not jack shit. One other thing. We know, they had to do 2 autopsies. Again, this is crazy work. And now they're saying that the one dude did the autopsy, thought that the throat was just missing, and he thought they were gonna bring it, and now they have the body, but it's missing his throat, and no one knows where it's at. Like, come on now, y'all. Like, go play in someone else's face. But what that autopsy did tell us, very interesting, is there was soft tissue damage in the back of Nolan's head, and they're trying to say, well, it could have came from anything, decomposing in the water. But the funny thing is if Nolan went missing on July 4th, and body was found on July 6th, and wouldn't you know, guys, his body was found right there on Horn Island, and they said it had a really moving current, right? How the fuck, if he drowned, did his body stay in one spot? What? And then how the fuck does his body have no bloating, no nothing? It's kind of like his body was thrown in the water when he was already DIED, and there's no water got in his LUNGS, his lungs, Crazy word. And another fact, he was found face down. So that what they're trying to say about the marking in the back of his head, wouldn't all the blood rush to the front of him, guys? Not the back of him? Again, it's gonna become the privilege versus the privilege. Which one of you boys is the least of the privileged? Because that's what's going to come down. What up, though? Lizette, thanks for pulling up on yours truly in the biggest M, and I mean the biggest M I do know. Thanks for pulling up on us. I know you being smooth with it, cool with it, and true with it. I appreciate y'all, man. This is crazy. But again, I didn't think, this is just me, y'all. I didn't think that it was going to be this quick. Do you guys want to know something? That Mississippi has the record for the most lynchings, the record of the most BLK people just, losing their life and nothing being done since the 1800s. And do you know something I was hearing about, that something about this act in Mississippi that they thought was in play, but they made a mistake and they just fixed it like in the 2000s, y'all. I'm scared. I'm concerned. I ain't going to Mississippi. I've been to 33 states and I ain't been to Mississippi yet, and I might have to drive through there because fuck that. And again, when you have money talks, bullshit walks. And when you got a group of just people that got money, you're going to have ones that, are good at doing this, and then you're going to, and have their plugs, and then you're going to have ones that are good at doing this and have their plugs. Kind of like the grandpa who had, that could call the captain and be like, oh, they don't need a tow. What? And then he doesn't have to be interviewed. He doesn't have to be talked to. He's not even a suspect. Like, you called and told them to not bring the tow. You were helping set an alibi for these fucking privileged ass boys. But you're just a good guy, I guess. This is crazy, guys. Very, very hard to keep your emotions out of this one. Because it's very, very much so. It's about color. It's about color. Jaden's time. I'm about to, man. So we do have an autopsy, but alone it doesn't prove it doesn't it's undetermined. They can't prove. And by golly, when you can't prove something in the court of law, guess what? No justice. No peace. This is what it is. That makes this whole situation 10 times worse. Yeah, this is crazy. I don't know, man. I just hope that people can be held accountable and change could be made, maybe. But Martin Luther King's been wanting that since 1969 or 68 when he said that speech. And the last thing before I start playing videos, y'all. So, when they did call the fucking tow people, whatever, their people, the tow people, their people, whatever. We have one recording, and then we have another one. We have an enhanced one, and then we have one that's got time added to it. Wouldn't you know? Dude said, fuck it. Let me just listen to the original recording. And they found something. Wow. See, you don't have to alter shit to get the answer or manipulate things. When you do that, it will not work. And I mean it will not work. He said, fuck it. Let me go back and listen to with no alters, no enhancements, no nothing. The original recording. And once you know. But yeah, y'all, we finna get into these little clips real quick. I'm gonna drop their links in the chat. Again, shout out to these two ladies on motherfucking TikTok. They're doing their thing. They're all over YouTube. They just have a regular criminal mind and like to bring awareness. And by golly, they're doing they're doing the best job Mississippi police could ever did in the whole years that the state's been a state. And guess what color they are? Whitey. Let's go. Because this is all about color. Shout out to them two white tea ladies on TikTok doing their thing. Because it ain't about color for them. It's about right and fucking wrong. This is Tisa Tell. She's on YouTube. She clipped her shorts, and I didn't want to play the whole thing. And then we're gonna listen to our two TikTok ladies. Okay, let's go. Nolan Wells is his name. His birthday is in 2 days. He would have been 19 years old. May he rest in peace. Justice for Nolan Wells, y'all. Pray for his family.
To this channel, this had a long conversations with him around 3:30 p.m. Hey, what's up, you guys? Listen, there is a new update in the Nolan Wells case, and this one I think is going to sicken you to your stomach. It appears that the DA is operating in bad faith. Yeah, I know. If you're new to this channel, this might be a surprise. If you've been following my Nolan Wells coverage, you know I've been dancing around the subject for a while. The DA has literally given Nolan Wells' parents 48 hours to turn in Nolan's cell phone. Now, let's take a step back. We are going to read the letter, but let me just tell you a few things you need to keep in mind. The DA promised a joint investigation. The DA promised to look with the family. The DA, in my opinion, cannot be trusted because based off of what I've seen, I believe the DA is working in tangent with Nolan's supposed friends and with those attorneys in order to craft a story that makes sense for their predetermined conclusion, which is Nolan was heavily drunk and Nolan had an accidental drowning. Now, if they wanted to give us proof that this happened, there could be an autopsy. There could be witness reports. There could be anything, but they have given us nothing except for what those boys said and what they stick to. And then they seem to, my opinion, have crafted a narrative and a fact that support that. Now, as you read this, I want you to keep one more thing in mind, okay? I do not think this is by accident. If you remember, from the Officer Tatum interviews to the lawyers coming out being bold, talking about Nolan's parents aren't cooperating. I'll bet my reputation that they haven't given up the phone. How are they getting information on? Now, granted, they are spinning the information, in my opinion, to make it look like Nolan's parents are in the wrong. But it seems like between the Officer Tatum, who is a willing stooge, he is a conservative of the highest order. But you know what? It is what it is, right? The whole point of the matter is there has been an orchestrated had a long conversations with him around 3:30 p.m. Right? He told the police, he told Nolan's mom, and he said Nolan didn't seem a lick of drunk. Not only that, Nolan had a D1. He was a D1 athlete that had an important tryout. Not effort to paint a narrative in right-wing media, which don't make no mistake, that is their intended audience. They're not talking to us to make it seem like Nolan's parents are the problem and Nolan's support from Ben Crump is the problem as to why there can't be any justice. All right, y'all, let's get into this. Starting off strong, RPD advisors said, based on the following letter, it appears that the DA gave 48 hours for Nolan's parents to turn over the phone. I wonder why the DA has requested the phone as if they didn't have an agreement. All right, let's read through this letter because the clapback from Nolan's attorneys, Nolan Wells' attorneys, which is Christine Wells' attorneys, are saying Ben Crump was very, very smart to separate himself from the separate lawsuit of the wrongful death and civil litigation. Right now, it looks like there are 3 law firms working on this. The Crump is trying to make sure that her civil rights are protected and the right to a fair investigation. The second is the Eric Hart firm, which are the investigators. And the third law firm is the A.R. Smith, who are the lead attorneys for the wrongful death action. So the fact that the DA and everybody else keep saying Ben Crump, Ben Crump, Ben Crump, baby, you're not dealing with just Ben Crump. There are three law firms at play. But again, I don't think that fits their narrative. All right, let's get into this letter, okay? Because they literally go to war and spell it out like, who is you talking to? Do I think that this is odd and weird? Not for Mississippi, right? If you are anybody, whoever's dealt with small town politics or the cornbread mafia, you know what goes on in those small towns. They really do think they are judge, jury, and executioner. They think that nobody. Hey, what's up, you guys? Listen, there is a new can second guess them, and they will do what they want. And
Yo, Tisa tells, I'm with you when you're right, because once you know, these boys and all their grandpappies and their fathers and their brothers and all that shit, they have ties to the popo, the judges. Wouldn't you fucking know? Probably the fucking doctor who didn't think to call and be like, oh yeah, we're missing the whole throat from the body, if that's even fucking true. But they're all plugged up. Them JKKKK people stick together. I'm just saying. And they do exist.
they make up the facts afterwards. Again, this is what I've seen historically to match it. I think the way they've handled this investigation, Nolan's parents would be fools to trust them. And here's the thing, they're not even asking for, oh, well, no. They're just saying we need to be in the room when this happens. We need to be in the room when this happens. You promised us on July 15th and I believe July 7th that this will be a joint investigation, that we will be in the room. Now you're reneging on everything and you don't even want us in the room. Why? Is it because those interviews that the boys did are falling on deaf ears? And now everybody from here to Mozambique, from here to New Zealand, from here to Deutschland, it's like, what is going on? Let's get into it. Those little things, I will say these type of things only seem to work whenever they can keep things contained to their small town, because people in small towns don't ask questions. Anyway, let's get into this. This is from Angel Myers McGrath. I'm sorry, this is to Angel Myers McGrath, I don't know. Office of the District Attorney, 19th Circuit District, 3104 Magnolia Drive. Sounds like a plantation. Anyway, they said, this is directly from the law offices of A.R. Smith. They value integrity, commitment, and excellence. All right. Dear District Attorney, thank you for your correspondence dated August 12th. As Mississippi counsel for Nolan Wells' family, Smith Law Firm will serve as the primary point of contact for the legal team so that communications with your office can be coordinated efficiently. That's a way of politely saying, oh, why do you keep bringing Ben Crump's name into this? Why are you addressing anything to Ben Crump? Ben Crump has nothing to do with this legal matter. We are the point. If you want to come at somebody, baby, come at us. And if you don't come at us and you talk to media, you talk to Ben Crump, it's illegal for you to talk directly to the parents because well, that's an issue too. So they're setting up already the territory. Oh, stop playing and bring Crump's name up and stop saying that he's the one he's not involved in this portion of the case. All right. They said, we agree that examination of Nolan's phone was discussed during the July 15th meeting and that our team undertook the follow-up concerning the process. During that discussion, however, we agreed to a jointly coordinated forensic examination of the phone that would include the use of digital forensics labs at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, as well as possible FBI involvement. Subsequent correspondence with your office reflected our continued willingness to proceed through a mutually agreeable procedure. Additionally, Mr. Hertz contacted you on July 25th while traveling abroad and indicated that he would reconnect upon his return. Accordingly, our prior correspondence with your office should not be understood at all to suggest that our legal team had been unwilling to facilitate a forensic examination of the phone. Now, as we know, this is legal space. We're like, oh, stop playing on my face. Stop playing on my face. First of all, by the terms of the agreement that you made, we agreed to do things a certain way. You're the person that's now trying to act like that legally binding agreement did not exist. Now, they're smart. They're not even asking why they're acting up. They're just saying you're acting up and you're pushing a false narrative. And oddly enough, that false narrative is being reflected in all what the boys are saying and all the interviews. How is it the boys' attorneys, the boys, all the Tatum interviews, and what your current thing is? It's can second guess them. And they will do what they want and they make up the facts afterwards. Again, this is what I've seen historically to match it. I think the way they've handled this investigation, Nolan's parents would be full system. And here's the thing, they're not even asking for, oh, well, no. They're just saying we need to be in the room when this happens. We need to be in the room when this happens. You promised us on July 15th and I believe July 7th that this will be a joint investigation, that we will be in the room. Now you're reneging on everything and you don't even want us in the room. Why? Is it because those interviews that the boys did are falling on deaf ears? Come at us. Somebody, baby, come at us. And if you don't come at us and you talk to media, you talk to Ben Crump, it's illegal for you to talk directly to the parents because well, that's an issue too. So they're setting up already the territory. Oh, stop playing and bring Crump's name up and stop saying that he's the one he's not involved in this portion of the case. All right. They said, we agreed that examination of Nolan's phone was discussed during the July 15th meeting and that our team undertook the follow-up concerning the process. During that discussion, however, we agreed to a jointly coordinated forensic examination of the phone that would include the use of digital forensics labs at Mississippi Gulf Coast Community College, as well as possible FBI involvement. Subsequent correspondence with your office reflected our continued willingness to proceed through a mutually agreeable procedure. Additionally, Mr. Hertz contacted you on July 25th while traveling abroad and indicated that he would reconnect upon his return. Accordingly, our prior correspondence with your office should not be understood at all to suggest that our legal team had been unwilling to facilitate a forensic examination of the phone. Now, as we know, this is legal space. We're like, oh, stop.
Yeah, Tisa Tell says, like, they're playing in our face, y'all. Again, they're they have the NAAP now helping them, which is a civil rights group, nonprofit organization. And then we have these two ladies on TikTok that I just busted this motherfucking wide open. And the police ain't doing nothing but trying to block, not bring transparency, not trying to investigate shit. But it's okay. There's a lot more criminal minds out here than they thought.
couple days off because my brain
One
needs
second,
rest
y'all.
after the last.
Simple, very quickly. And that's why the boat footage and the photographs from that day, the story starts developing some very serious cracks. Big ones. And tonight, we're going straight into those cracks. Because Nolan Wells was 18 years old. He went out on the water, never came home. The basic story sounds simple. A boat experienced problems. Nolan was supposedly left behind. His friends came back. The Coast Guard was contacted. His family started looking for him. That's the story we've been given. But when you start putting the statements next to the timestamps, the phone data, the boats, and the photographs, things stop looking simple very quickly. And that's why we're here. Because we're not just listening to what people say. We're comparing what they say to what the evidence appears to show. We're going to look at Nolan's phone.
And one of my good old sayings is, when your own words are used against you. But somehow, some people, privileged people, still, it doesn't matter. It could be right there in the face of black and white. It ain't the truth.
Going to look at the Coast Guard timeline. We're going to look at the boat that appears to have been connected to another vessel. We're going to look at photographs that the TikTok investigator believes may have been altered. And we're going to look at a woman in a red-striped swimsuit who keeps appearing around these boats.
I told y'all that Jax was the ringleader. I told y'all. He sat in this interview and he was telling stories about shit that he wasn't even there to witness. So let's break down some of the stuff that I heard in this interview. Let's start with Warren's first phone call, because y'all remember that Warren said that he was over at Ava's house for that 4th of July party when they all started realizing that Nolan was missing, and he called Miss Christine at 11 o'clock.
One of the first things I told Miss Christine Wells in the first phone call that ever occurred with anything to do with Nolan Wells being gone, because I was the first person to call Miss Christine about anything. First phone call, anything to do with Nolan Wells, was me making a phone call to Christine Wells. And one of the first things I said to her, with multiple witnesses here, pull up the phone call if you want. She said, oh, well, Nolan's location is with y'all at, where the house we were at. And I was like, well, no, he left his phone with us. I told her this.
And yesterday, the same time that this interview came out, Christine Wells said this.
360 says that he's on land, and he was like, well, no, I mean, well, we have his phone.
So both versions of the story say that Warren didn't tell her about the phone until after she confronted him with the 360. Now, Warren tells Miss Christine that he knows somebody in the Coast Guard and that he's going to call them, which is very fucking different than calling the Coast Guard, which absolutely explains why the Coast Guard came out and said at first that they had not received a call from the kids that night. The Coast Guard's initial statement said they weren't informed until 12:30. Then the Coast Guard later changed their story and said, oh wait, actually we did. And it seems to me that that first call was most most likely an off-the-record to guard until after all these people showed up at Jax's house. Which would explain why in the course of this interview it went from Warren called the Coast Guard to we did. Now, when the subject turns to how the family got the phone back from these boys, you'll notice that there was a couple slip-ups.
Warren, you weren't at the house, and so you weren't there when they came to get the phone and all that. So
now remember, Warren just said that he wasn't at the house when the phone was got. And then Morgan talks about getting a phone call from one of the people in Christine Wells' group.
And how did they get the phone back?
So I got a call from a kid we went to high school. Just asking me questions. People posting on Snapchat, like the picture that was circulating.
Chat that night. But let's continue.
And he called and he was asking questions. He was like, "Where's Nolan? When's the last time y'all seen him?" And then he was like, "So where are y'all at?" And I told him, I said, "We're at Jax's house." And then Warren got on the phone, and I don't know.
So they come to my house, right? And they kind of
Hold on, before we get there. Was it confrontational or was it just just trying to find? It was confrontational
Yeah,
already.
wouldn't y'all agree?
Yeah.
He was 110%. He was very confrontational.
And when did this was this on the night of the 4th or the next
this
day?
was the night when this was before they came and got the phone.
So this is the night of the 4th, yes.
You guys are missing a part of the story. How did you get from Ava's house to Jax's house? Because Miss Christine is watching you guys on the Life 360. So suddenly she's seeing the phone leave one location and go to another. Of course I would be upset. And now all of a sudden Warren is there from this report. If we were to believe Warren that he was not there when everybody showed up looking for the phone at some time in between 11 and 1 a.m., so then that would mean after they heard this angry phone call, Warren gets the phone out of his vehicle and puts it in Jax's house and then leaves.
There's probably like 10, 15 people in my house I don't even know. And they're all up in our faces, going crazy, asking where Nolan is, and we don't know. And finally they get into Wyatt's face, and they're like, "Where's your boat? Where's the boat at?"
Demanding his address.
Demanding his address and stuff like that. And he finally ends up giving it to him.
We give them the phone. They have the phone at this point. Then they get the address to his house. Then they go to his house. And they're searching all over his boat, what I heard and stuff like that. Well, anyways, I don't really know much about that, but they come back to my house at around 1 o'clock in the morning. We called law enforcement. I was with Wyatt at the time. After we left Jax's house that night, I was with Wyatt, and one person we were with saw that their location was headed towards Wyatt's house. And so Wyatt got on the phone with 911 and was like, "Hey, these people are on the way to my house, or already at my house. My mom and my dad are there alone, and they know nothing about this." But Wyatt's mom actually, when they were looking at the boat, they were actually walking from the boat, and she came out and started talking to them.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Wyatt, Morgan, and Jax were all together. Warren was gone for some reason at this point. 10 to 15 people just barge into your house. Don't know why your grandparents weren't around.
I'm gonna say this. Nolan, with friends like the ones he had, he didn't need enemies. And this was done so well, it had to be a plan. The fuck?
That might explain some things, huh? Guess y'all had the house all to your fucking self that weekend. But then they ask Wyatt for his address so that they can go look at the boat. Wyatt gives them the address. They start heading over there. Wyatt and Morgan get into a car and leave Jax's house. Somebody else that you were with that we aren't hearing about is tracking someone else's phone. I don't know if it was somebody who was with the group that they had access to, or if they were tracking Nolan's phone and they saw it was heading to Wyatt's house. And even though Wyatt gave them the address, and instead of calling his parents, parents, he calls 911 and tells them, my parents don't know anything about that's going on. Can you send police over there? Now, mind you, it was about half an hour after being on the phone with Warren that Christine was able to actually call and report him missing. But she was having to go back and forth and go down to all these different agencies because nobody would fucking help her. And frankly, I want to know why all of this confrontation was left out of the fucking report. Like, if this family had to be removed from 2 different properties by the police, why is there no record of that? And in fact, it wasn't until after these confrontations that MDMR and Ocean Springs Police apparently had their little conversations about who was going to be taking over the case. Because remember, the Jackson County Sheriff Lieutenant told them that deputies had spoken with several friends that had traveled to the island on the vessel with Nolan, and that when they were left, he was in the company of an unknown female. So now, even though Warren had supposedly called the Coast Guard, all these family members are telling the police that the kid is missing. These are the people that last saw them. They're all like, we last saw him on the island. Still, the deputies said that they did not have reason to believe that there was any water-related exigencies or emergencies. Don't worry, y'all. I've got a lot fucking more to say about this stuff, so come back for part 2. I'm going to be immediately recording it because Warren fucked up pretty badly in this interview, and I'll show you why. Where we had left off, Warren had already called Miss Christine, and then they somehow ended up at Jax's grandparents' house. That's where they all stayed that weekend, and so that's why Nolan's keys were over there. They had to have been at the grandparents' house, who mysteriously never showed up during any of these confrontations. Somehow the phone had gone from the party that they were all at to Jax's place, and then Warren left after a phone call to Morgan. According to them, 10 to 15 people showed up and just walked into Jax's house and demanded the phone. Wyatt gave the address in which the boat was at. They all start migrating over there. Then Morgan and Wyatt and another friend are tracking their 360s and seeing that they're going over to Wyatt's house. Then they call 911 to tell them that the police are on the way to his house. Then they're searching the boat, and then they come back to Jax's house around 1 o'clock in the morning, according to him. Mind you, that's when they explain to the police about their friend being missing. And so then the report says at 1:38 in the morning, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office say that they spoke to several of the friends that were on the vessel with Nolan, saying that he was in the company of an unknown female. But Morgan, Jax, and Warren all claimed that they did not travel to the island on the same boat as Nolan. So who did they talk to? Because it sounds to me like they had told the police that they were on the same boat as him. Keeping in mind that this is what Warren told Miss Christine.
Named Katie. And so then it turned into, Katie is also missing. No one can find her. And the explanation of no one knows this Katie, like we've never met her.
And Tristan said this.
I was talking on my other buddy's phone, talking to Warren. He was dialing Coast Guard because he hung up the phone and was like, hey, this is them, but, and hung up the phone. And that was the last time I talked to him.
Mind you, Tristan is friends with Katie. They are mutuals. I have confirmed this. So now that we've got that timeline fucking straight, let's back up to something that Warren said during this interview.
But if you're motivated enough to do it, yeah. Like, I made a phone call to my mom, and I had to call her like 8 times before she picked up because either her service was bad because she was on the back side of the aisle on the south side, or my service was bad, and it was just hard to get through.
Do y'all see that? Let me play it again slower for you.
Either her service was bad because she was on the back side of the aisle on the south side, or my service was bad, and it was just hard to get through.
Oh no. Not only did Warren confirm that his mom was on the south side of the island, but Warren himself said that if you're motivated enough, you can call somebody. I tried calling my mom 8 times. Yet this is what he said last time.
A little off the island, you have cell coverage. And even on the island, like I called my mom when we were on the island, it was fine.
So which is it? Did you call your mom with ease, or did you try to call her 8 times because you were motivated to get in touch with her? But Warren wasn't the only one to slip up, because listen.
And he's on the phone with Cito, and he's trying to get them on the phone. And as he stated in the moment, he's like, Cito's just asking all these dumb questions. I can't figure out what's going on. And so finally hangs up, and after the trim to the motor started to work again. So they manually trim it down by the buttons on the motor, trimmed it down, and some electronics started to come back on. And they got the boat to crank over, and they're like, all right, unties.
So first off, Jax just proved that the boys put the phone on mute during the call with Cito. Because I've listened to the entire 8-minute call, And at no point does they ever say anything about them asking all these stupid questions. Then he said after they hung up on the sea tow, that's when it started working again. And they said, okay, untie us, implying that it had been tied up to the other boat the entire time. But we see in this video that they are hauling the line back in right here as he's on the phone. See, you can see right here where the line is being pulled in from across the way where the boat is stationed. Meaning he had already hung up with Sea Tow at that point, and he had to have been on the phone with someone else. And what we see here is, once again, we have an interview where they go into so much detail about stuff that doesn't fucking matter.
Well, I'm gonna go ahead and first off explain a boat.
We fucking get how a bilge pump works. We get it by now. Stop fucking talking about the bilge pump. What we actually want to hear about is the multiple stops that were made before ending up back at the grandparents' house before they even took the boat to the boat dock. We want you guys to explain how this tow was by the grandmother. All they believes a fuck thing yesterday, how AI clearly doctored these photos.
Again, shout out to her name is Nerdy Pink Panda 1 on TikTok. By golly. You would think the police would be able to do this shit, but not in the year of 2026. It's sickening. Nolan Wells is his name. Justice for Nolan. May he rest in peace.
If you missed it, look, silver pole. Look, no silver pole. It's actually white. And if you look at this picture in the grandparents' driveway of the Triton, you will see that the little handrails are not leaning over. You will see that the rails are going straight up and down and not leaning, which is why I also suspect that the identity of whoever this is was intentionally covered up. Because first off, who wears this weird swimsuit thing? This is somebody who, if they were with them, would have stood out in a crowd. But this woman who's in a red striped swimsuit with a white baseball cap shows up in a lot of different pictures, just oh so obscured. Here she is again, handing out beers on Bart's boat. So I personally suspect that whoever that was in fact on the Triton, and they used AI to change her clothing and to obscure her identity. Because I think this was either Warren's mother or Wyatt's stepmother, which would explain the older female voice people who said they've heard on the Sea Tow. Because otherwise, why would he need to call his mother 8 times? Unless, according to his own words,
If you're motivated enough to do it, yeah.
Because remember, there is that literally is concrete proof. Oh my God. Next video coming. Oh my God.
All right. Now you've seen it. 13 minutes. And now we can actually talk about what we just watched. Because I'm not interested in screaming at you for 13 minutes and then pretending that every strange detail automatically proves a crime. That's not investigation. That's entertainment. What matters is whether the statements, the timestamps, the phone data, the boats, and the photographs can all exist together without contradicting one another. And that's where this gets interesting. Let's start with Warren. Warren repeatedly establishes himself as the first person who contacted Christine Wells about Nolan. He doesn't just mention it once. He emphasizes it. He wants that point on the record. He was first. Okay, let's give him that. Let's assume Warren really was the first person to call Christine. Now ask, what exactly did he tell her? According to Warren, he told Christine that Nolan's phone was with them. That's important, because Christine was trying to figure out where her son was, and apparently the phone was already in the possession of the group. But then we have the Life 360 information. According to the reconstruction presented by the TikTok investigator, Nolan's phone was showing up on land, not where you'd expect Nolan himself to be. And then the phone moves. That's where the question changes. We're no longer simply asking, where was Nolan? We're asking, who had Nolan's phone? And those are two completely different questions. A phone doesn't have to be with its owner. Somebody can pick it up, carry it, put it in a vehicle, move it from one location to another. So if Nolan is missing and his phone is moving, whoever controlled that phone becomes extremely important to the timeline. Now, according to the material watched, the precise location wasn't immediately volunteered. Christine had to push for more information. And that's significant. Because if you're trying to help a mother find her missing 18-year-old son, saying, "We have his phone," isn't nearly as useful as saying, "We have his phone, and here's exactly where it is." That's the information that helps someone find a missing person. So why wasn't the location immediately clear? That's a question. Then we get to the Coast Guard. And this is where the timeline gets seriously uncomfortable. The material shows an initial statement that no call had been received. Then a later statement indicating a call around 12:30 a.m. If both statements are accurately represented, something changed. And I'm not going to immediately tell you. That means somebody lied. That's too easy. The first question should be, what changed? Was there an earlier call? Was it made to someone personally known to Warren? Was that separate from the official Coast Guard communication? Was the 12:30 call the first formal distress call? Those questions can be answered. There are call records. There are logs. There are timestamps. Because between the earlier timeline and the 12:30 a.m. call is a significant window of time. And according to the reconstruction we've just watched, during that window, the phone was moving. The boats were moving. People were making calls. And eventually, law enforcement became involved. That gap deserves scrutiny. Now let's talk about Jack's description of the CTO call. Jack describes an emergency situation. The boat is supposedly in trouble. The operator is asking questions. And Jack says they were frustrated by those questions and eventually hung up. But according to the investigator's analysis of the audio, the call itself sounds calm and procedural. So now we have another discrepancy. Either Jack's memory of the call is inaccurate, or he's describing a different call. And if he's describing a different call, how many calls were there? That's the question, because one call versus multiple calls can completely change the reconstruction of the night. Then comes the tow line. This is where the footage becomes is correct. The Triton was physically connected to matters. Because now the question becomes, who was on the other boat? Why were they connected? How long had they been connected? Could that vessel have helped? Could the people aboard it have witnessed what happened to Nolan? And why wasn't the presence of that vessel clearly part of the account? Those are legitimate investigative questions. Now, the footage alone doesn't prove what happened. But it absolutely gives us something to investigate. Because if there was another vessel, that vessel should be identifiable. Registration, owner, passengers, route. Everything. Then we come back to Nolan's phone. According to the reconstruction, the phone moves from Ava's house to Jackson's grandparents' house, toward Wyatt's dock, and eventually back toward Jackson's house. Again, who moved it? Because Warren says he wasn't there when the phone was retrieved. If that's accurate, somebody else had control of it. And that person matters. Then people connected to Christine begin tracking the phone. They start showing up at Jackson's house. And suddenly we're no longer dealing with a simple missing person situation. We're dealing with confrontation. People want the phone. People want answers. And then Wyatt calls 911. But listen to the reason presented for that call. It's not simply, my friend is missing. The concern is that people coming toward the house and his parents are there. That's an important distinction. Because at that moment, two different groups of Nolan's family is trying to find Nolan. The people at the house are concerned about the people coming to the property. And then deputies arrive. They search. They speak with people. and eventually they leave. But another question remains. According to the material presented here, law enforcement was told that Nolan was with an unknown woman on the island. So, who supplied that information? That's something investigators should be able to establish. Because somebody gave that account. Who? That's not something I want to guess about. That's something I want documented. Now we get the fourth boat. And this is where I want to slow down. Because the fourth boat theory is potentially significant, but it needs to be established with actual records. Not TikTok. Not speculation. Not somebody saying, I think I saw another boat.
I mean, we loved him dearly.
Yeah, no.
Again, Nolan Wells is his name. May he rest in peace. Justice for Nolan. And again, with friends like these, Nolan didn't need enemies.
Shit. To say that you are somebody's best friend, and then when it comes time to describe that person and to describe how you feel about that person, this is your response. People read body language and they see what's going on here. It just looks very, very, very made up. All right, y'all. All right.
And I don't know about y'all, but like if my bro was missing and this happened, I know I wouldn't be cackling. I ain't seen one tear. I seen just a bunch of manipulation, privileged. And again, guys, how do they know? Why are they acting like Nolan is red rummed? I thought it was an accident. But they keep steady defending themselves about a red rum. Putting their foot in their mouth.
Let's take a look at this Nolan Wells situation. We got Jay Megan, who was back with some new info. She breaking down the timeline
linked to this case. Now, back to racist governor, because this is where the case stops being just a tragedy and starts being something with layers underneath it. The grandparents' house, the one the boat stopped at, belongs to the Petillo family. Our investigators started digging. George Petillo Sr., Jackson's great-grandfather, was appointed to the staff of Mississippi Governor Cliff Finch. Now here is who Cliff Finch was. He served in the Mississippi House of Representatives from 1960 to 1964. He supported racial segregation, backed a racist governor, specifically to preserve it in the state. A grand jury conducted a 3-year investigation into his administration. Multiple state agencies accused of corruption and mismanagement. Finch was never convicted, but several of his aides and appointees were indicted. Political corruption and political protection have generational memory. That connection runs directly to one of the families linked to this case. Now let's talk about the lawyer handling the defamation case for the Edmiston family. From 2015 to 2018, he served as State Director of Americans for Prosperity. From 2018 to 2020, Vice President of Stand Together, a Charles Koch nonprofit. Americans for Prosperity, a libertarian conservative advocacy group, directly affiliated with Charles and David Koch. And the Koch brothers' major donors are primary financial pillars of Turning Point USA, specifically their campus operations. These are not random resume entries. These are networked institutions with money, with reach, with influence, and they are connected to the legal team in this case. And there is the mayor. Weeks before Nolan's disappearance, Warren's mother held a birthday party. In the background of that party, Warren's mom, his little brother, and the mayor of Ocean Springs, Bobby Cox, tagged in the picture, on record, present. These families are not strangers to the people who run that town. They are connected to them directly. And then our investigator found Lieutenant Patrick Carone. His name is the first name on Nolan's missing persons report. He was the officer who took Christine's call the night she reported her son missing. Someone related to Carone that night with the mother of that same girl. Our investigators read on this. They waited to report Nolan missing until they knew Carone was on shift, until they knew who would take that call. That is why nobody was sent out to look for him that night. That is why there is no footage of them returning to the grandparents' house. That is why not a single photo from that party has ever surfaced publicly. And now I need you to hear this part clearly. Our TikTok investigator has made this video more than once. She said it herself. This is my third time making this video because they keep taking it down. And the day after she posted, several of the families involved suddenly made their friends lists private. She went through the pages of roughly 30 kids connected to this case. Not a single video, not a single photograph of Nolan with any of them. They called him a friend, a buddy, and there is not one picture. If this case matters to you, and it should, subscribe to True Crime Hour right now. We are one of the few channels covering this case completely and accurately. Every grand jury development, every new piece of evidence, every update as it happens, we cover it here first. Subscribe, turn on notifications, because this story is not over. Now let's talk about what happened to the people who started asking, was publicly pushing for answers into her son's death. While she was doing that, someone filed an anonymous complaint against her, not to law enforcement, not to a court, to the Mississippi Board of Nursing, her professional license, her livelihood.
a unit. Let's get into it, y'all.
Negative. We're en route to the judge's house now. You said y'all are en route to the judge's house or from the judge's house? En route to the judge's house. That's 10-4. I keyed up on you. Appreciate it. 10-4.
32, finish up with whatever you got and get down here.
Currently dealing with a potential missing person.
Do you have all the information from the 1050?
10-4.
I'm 1024, 10-8. Give me a J2.
10-4.
Two guys in front of guy on the sand are fighting out in the water. Now watch his feet go up.
I want y'all to pay close attention, because when I say all we have is us to rely on, I'm gonna need everybody to get with it. My people, hear my voice, please. All we have is us. Watch this.
Hey y'all, hey, there has been some update on Christine Wansley's legal team. And the legal team now consists of Ahmaud R. Smith, a African-American attorney with A.R. Smith Law PLLC, who joined her case on August the 11th. Which this is very interesting because once he entered into the case, it led to the withdrawal of 3 of the other YT attorneys, Gary Bufkin, Luke Whitaker, and Joel J. Everett from Carol Bufkin PLLC, who.
So they said, oh, he coming on? We don't want to be a part of it no more.
The motion to withdraw from representation of Christine Wansley on August the 12th of 2026. The legal team is currently still working on obtaining records for social media, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It does not change the case at all. Anything that they have found while they were working for this case is still, it's not going to cause any prejudice or undue delays. But they did not explain why they withdrew. But that's questionable. I don't know.
Why you think they withdraw? Why? All snakes can't be trusted. And I'm not going to try to figure out which snake is venomous or not. Now, what scares me is that being as though that they've been on a case and they know certain things that the other side don't know, are they taking that information and revealing it anywhere? These are my questions. Were they threatened by
Mississippi PD. Y'all seen them boys wrestling in the water, right? A shout out to the TikTok people who keep busting this bitch wide open. And everybody pray for them too, because Mississippi don't play. And people with money can do whatever they want. But shout out to them for standing on business. It's all, it's sad and one indicator in this case, y'all, they're doing everything to not investigate. I'm gonna just leave it at that. And when you do have a case like this, the main goal is to investigate. Nolan Wells would be, he would have been 19 in 2 days. May he rest in peace. Pray for his family. That poor mother. Man, but she's standing on business. Man, shout out to her. Everybody pray for her. And pray for fucking Mississippi. And we'll be back again. And until next time, I hope all y'all be real smooth with it. Real cool with it. And most importantly, as true as you can be with it. And remember, it's real fucking for real over here. And it's all love over here. And my big invoice, y'all. Peace.